Hey y'all, Courtney Lyons here with Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, and today we are doing a WIP and Chat. This is WIP and Chat number 11. Alright, it's going to be a fun one. Today we're going to be talking about Reesa Teesa, which if you haven't heard about Reesa Teesa, oh my gosh, you might want to go and watch those or skip through this part so you don't have any spoilers. But at the same time, it's like her actual true story. So I don't know if it counts as having spoilers, but it does because she's really good at like narrating the whole thing and turning it into this whole series that I would sit and watch on Netflix if, and I know that even people are like out there trying to make it into a movie or wanting people to. Anyway, we'll talk about it. Another thing we're going to be talking about are some of my crazy animal stories. I figured I want to put on here more like, I don't know. I feel like my WIP and Chat sometimes I just get into storytelling about what like has gone through my week, which is just fine. I love, like I'll sit and listen to those when other people do it. Sorry, still, bronchitis. But I thought I might throw in like one interesting weird thing in here. And Reesa Teesa, that's a crazy story, but maybe like more pertaining to my own life. So I'm going to talk about some weird animal stories that I've had in my life. Anyway, because there's been some crazy animal stories that I'll tell people these stories and they don't believe me. That's how wild it is. Where they're like, that didn't really happen. I'm like, I swear it happened. I promise I'm not lying. It happened. Like, if I didn't like for sure know I was awake and not dreaming, I would have thought there was like some fever dream on some of these. Or maybe like, well, two of them are like, what the heck? That's a weird story, or that's wild. A couple of the other ones are just kind of, I don't know, just special, I guess. And then another thing we were wanting to talk about, our basement flooded this week, and so it was actually last night, and I'll talk about that. My kid's funny, like, Pokemon trading trash drills. It's pretty funny. And that'll make more sense when we get to. It's been causing some issues. And then we're trying to look at maybe buying out here and just kind of just putting some general feelers out, because right now it's not really a great buying time, but it's like pretty fun to like go and try out. I don't know. Actually, I want to take this off. But about this, it's crazy. I'm going to insert a picture and we talk about it, but we're pretty sure this house is haunted, and we were trying to figure out why it was such a good deal. And maybe it's not. Maybe someone can look at the picture and explain it for us because it's weird. Okay, so I think this is going to be a fun one. All right, so let me talk about what I'm working on. I am working on Valentine Kitty. I took a big hiatus from this for a while because I've been working on Satura. And yeah, so I got this one from my cover minder. Oh, this is Valentine Kitty by Puffy Gator and Distracted by Diamonds. And I'm not gonna lie, there's a little bit about the rendering of this kit that's not my favorite. Oh, I'm trying to see if I can get this to work better. For a second. There you go. That's gonna work better. It's just the one side keeps wanting to like fold over. Okay, and then this is the cover minder. It's probably my favorite cover minder. I love the color. Look at my poor finger. Ugh, I do not have nice hands and nails, guys. Sorry about that. Anyway, I thought maybe this would match. I wanted to use one that I had gotten from the thrift store, but none of them really matched. And this one kind of, now that I brought it downstairs, doesn't match a ton, but a little bit. Maybe not the square as much. Sorry, I'll probably be coughing every once in a while. I got this pen from, I'm going to change it up a little tonight because I think this actually matches perfectly. I got this pen on Mercari. I get a lot of my stuff from Mercari, and I wanted to try this out. So I usually don't need very big of these placers. I usually use a full placer with this one because it's actually confetti heavy. I didn't think it would be as much. Let me show you the rendering a little bit right here on the I shouldn't do that because then I'm really gonna have to move it. Well, you can kind of see right here. It's kind of weird. I'll insert a bigger picture right here of how the background, I like confetti backgrounds like this. It's not all just one background color, but there's something strange about this one that's just kind of, you know, Emeralds and Fairy Lights. Lindsay from Emeralds and Fairy Lights has the same kit, and she pointed it out perfectly that it's almost like TV static. It's really strange. But I have been having a ton of fun with this, and you can see right here, I've been charting this out a little differently because this didn't come with special drills, and it's been really fun to bling it up. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, I am using Diamond Art Studio UK putty. I love it. I still have quite a bit of it left. I probably won't get new putty until it's close to gone. And then I am using, I believe I have glue dots. I always say that. Glue dots on my single placer. Might actually be a mixture of both. No, it's glue dots. I might need to replace it actually. We'll see. Okay, and then this is my new tray. It's a firefly tray. It's perfect for confetti kits like this. These 4 different parts that open up, and then they have, I think you won't see a review for this until a couple days from when this WIP and Chat comes out. Excuse me. Needless to say, I am in love with firefly drills. I did also get this from my Kari. It's always hit and miss on there, and this one definitely has some, like this part is broken right here, and it was not disclosed on there that it was broken. I still need to super glue it. I mean, I did get it budget, but it, you know, it's kind of frustrating because if I would have known it was broken, I wouldn't have bought it. So, but I do really like it a lot. Okay, so let me get some colors out. I'm gonna get these ones and the J's out. And J's, and we'll get those going right now. Okay, so Reesa Teesa, guys. She's, if you're not on TikTok, you might not know who she is, but her story is wild. I mean, it's like something you hear from, it's like what's that one show called? Where the girl is like crazy and, oh no, spilled a little bit in here. I'm trying to remember. It's like the girl is crazy and like controls her husband and, oh gosh, I can't remember it at all. But anyway, so, but where she's pretty much just weaving this super deep, intricate lie that, and makes him like gaslights in him and stuff like that, right? So it's like, that's like Reesa Teesa, except the other way around, where the guy is just a pathological liar. Like, they're real. There are real people like that out there that are actual pathological liars. And you hear about it, and you hear a lot about them on, oh, I can't use glue dots for this one. I forgot. It's too, like, glue dots is too sticky for the glue. Let me do this instead. That's what I'm doing. I'm replacing it. Anyway, you hear about these stories happening, but it always seems like in a book, like in like a suspense thriller book or a suspense thriller movie or TV show, or it just doesn't seem like, it's like, how are there actually people out there that are like this, that are real? How's this possible, you know? So, okay, so a little bit more background. Reesa Teesa lives in Georgia, I believe, or Alabama. I think it's Georgia. And she starts dating this guy. Okay, just a heads up, I won't give like huge spoilers or anything, but if you want to be completely unspoiled, skip forward to, I'll post it right here. What time? Anyway, so she starts dating this guy, and it's like right before the pandemic happens. And because of that, they kind of, when the pandemic happens and like everybody had to, you know, all stay away from each other. I can't remember the word for that. How did I not remember the word for that? It was on the news and everything. Everybody talked quarantined. Oh my gosh. Who even forgets the word quarantine now? Anyway, whatever. Everybody had to quarantine from each other, right? So Maybe make it a little different. Let's see. Let's do those R's. So they kind of like everything speeds up for them where they're like, okay, well, we're getting pretty serious now, even though it hasn't been for very long. So what do? Just quarantine away from each other or, you know, move in together in quarantine because it's just kind of a weird time for everybody, right? And so they do. And of course, they're falling in love and lots of things happen. I won't give too much away, but pretty much he's like saying that he's super rich and he was a football player and she says right off the bat that he's been lying to her. So this isn't really spoiling anything. Look how cool this is. They're all four in there. And she's like, I'm trying to think, like, I really don't want to spoil stuff, but pretty much she's like doing everything that you do, like buying houses, talking about family, meeting each other's families, sort of. Like a lot of the weird control this guy had over her was because it was the pandemic. So, whoops. So it's like she sort of met his family, but not really because it's not like they could do a bunch of stuff together because everybody was quarantined from each other. So they'd like talk on the phone. And this is one of the weirdest parts is that he would talk on the phone. And she also says this right away is that like these people later I found out are not real. Like these people are not real. That he's talking to on the phone for like 45 minutes every morning. And he says, hey, I don't know her actual name, but Reesa Teesa, say hi. And she'll say, hi, John. And they'd get a little narrative. And she never talked to him in person, but, or even like over the phone. She never talked to this brother, but, you know, like she just assumed he was real because who makes up a phone conversation over the phone for every single morning for over a year of your relationship with each other? It's so crazy. Anyway, a bunch of things happen where every time that they try to buy a house, it always falls through. And usually like because he's taking care of it and things, there's like weird things. It's like, well, why is this not going through? Oh, they didn't like the offer or things like that. And it is insane, guys. Like I said, I'm not going to talk a lot about it because I don't want to completely ruin it. But she does, TikTok has been starting to do these 10-minute, you can do up to 10 minutes. So she does these 50 episodes, and I think she filmed it within like a week, maybe more. But, so all these episodes of 10-minute long episodes up to 50 episodes. And then just a heads up, there's a lot of swearing because the whole title for it is like, who the F did I marry? But she says, you know, she actually says it, which I'm not big on swearing, but you know, like things like that. I'm like, this is like one of those historically, socially important events, if that makes sense, where it's like you want to be part of that and you want to be like, hey, this is happening now. This is happening real time. And I want to be part of this, you know? And so when things like that, I don't really mind the swearing too much for. Oops, there we go. But yeah, anyway, so she does these 50 episodes, 10 minutes long each about. They're like anywhere from 6 minutes to up to 10 minutes long of these videos. And she is really good at leaving a cliffhanger. Like, this woman is a natural born storyteller, although you can tell she's telling the truth. You can just tell that she's telling the truth. Although I'll get into it. Her ex-husband did come out recently. At least he claims that he's the ex-husband and say, don't listen to her. She's lying. I can't believe you guys believed her. But when he talks, you're like, oh, you're totally lying out of your teeth. And the lies, the unravel throughout. By the end, you're like, oh my gosh, who was this guy? And she admits, she's like super honest with herself too. She's like, I knew there was something wrong. She's like, but you know, he was giving me the dream. Like, he was giving me the dream that I always wanted and dreamed about. But, you know, and so when those subtle things that were telling you, and she's Christian, really religious. She's like, when God was telling me something was wrong, I didn't listen because she really wanted this to work out, which anybody can relate to something like that, whether it's a past relationship or like dating or marriage or something like that, that you're like, I pictured this differently or something like that, you know? I mean, I'm not saying that with me personally with my husband. I just mean like in dating in general, or even like the ups and downs sometimes with marriage, because let's be honest, that happens. Okay, what was this? That was these. Look how cool, I don't have to change it out. I can just move to the next color. I love that. Yeah, so, you know, she had those moments where she was like, something's off. And then, of course, the longer the lies went on, the more she was like, something's really off, until, you know, enough that she like investigated it on her own and ended up figuring everything out. So it's just crazy, the truths that come out of the lies, and how much of it, the biggest twist. Like, this could have been like this should be a movie, actually, guys, or a TV series. It would be so good. The twist that comes out at the end regarding her husband, or I guess ex-husband now. And I got to change out the wax. That's bugging me. The ex-husband, or the now ex-husband, and the brother. It's so wild. You're just like, what? Is this real? How is this real? But it's totally, I mean, at least as far as I can tell, and as most people can see. And not only that, not only has the ex-husband come on and talked about how he like gives his side of the story, but the ex-wife, there's two ex-wives. One came out, one that she hadn't known about. Sorry. Like I said, some spoilers, but I'm not going to go into it too much. Two ex-wives and one of them comes out, and she actually has like a wellness Facebook podcast sort of thing, or workshop. I don't really know. Anyway, she comes out and she says, hey, I know this man that she's talking about. I was married to him. She's not lying. Everything's true. Even the ex-husband's like stepson comes out and talks about how, yeah, he's a total liar. He's been lying for forever. And then like a few other family members come out. I don't even remember. But so like she has all this to back her up. And like he just gives like this one spiel. He's actually like on YouTube or on TikTok. On TikTok, he's like a relationship coach TikTok person. Like he talks about all these relationship. He thinks of himself as a relationship guru, and it's like, dude, you're like one of the last people you would want to. And it's hard because it's like you look at it as an entertainment and stuff. Not really, like you feel for her, but every once in a while, I think that he was completely wrong. Of course, it doesn't excuse the actions. Are not excused, but sometimes you kind of feel for him. Not really. Like, you obviously feel for Reesa Teesa. They have come out with her real name, but I can't think of it right now. You feel for her more because she went through some crazy crap. And, but you kind of feel for him too. It's like, what happened in your life that created this monster of you? And really, in a lot of ways, she wasn't abused in ways that other women have been, or men have been in situations, because it happens on both sides. As we've seen with another social crazy thing that's happened recently with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, which I'm so glad he won with that. I absolutely love Johnny Depp. But, yeah, sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that? Anyway, like I said, sorry, I remember now. I hate when I lose my train of thought. Anyway, so yeah, you can see, like, it happens on both sides. But that's what I'm saying, though, is like, sometimes you wonder, maybe it's just, I'm a very empathetic person. So I hear these stories and I'm just like, of course I empathize with Reesa Teesa. Of course, like, but I always like feel, I mean, I'm a great believer that everybody is a God's child, right? So to me, I just think of him as like his poor lost soul. I mean, he's dug himself in so deep and he's lost. And it's like, I want to reach out to him and help him in some way. Obviously I would never would, but like, and this sounds so weird, but the other day I like totally prayed for them, because at first I was like, oh, this is an awesome story, until I realized these are real people going, and I'm just so grateful that she was willing to give her story out there, because, and she says the reason why, she's like, I want anybody to know who's going through similar situation. You're not crazy and you can make it through this, and I'm still healing, but we will heal together and stuff like that. Anyway, so like, I'm very grateful that she did, you know, come out and talk about it all. And it must have been so hard for her, especially now. And she made it out this way, where she was just like, where she made it a suspense. Like she was really good at her storytelling. So of course people think of it in a way as a story. And, but then you sit and you think about it, and I seriously, like, I prayed for them the other day, because I was like, these are real people. They're real. They're children of God, and they are real. And I hope the best for both of them. I hope that she has healing, and I hope that she finds somebody out there that really is going to treat her like a queen, like he always pretended to. And I hope that he finds healing too, because I just hope he ends up having his happy ending, where he can become a better person and lose these awful habits. And anyway, yeah. So that's my Reesa Teesa spiel. Reesa Teesa spiel. Oh my gosh. I'm not going to try saying that again. You know what I mean? I can't get it out. So yeah, wild things that happen in this world that you don't even realize are happening until it just comes out, and it's like, is this real? And then it is, and you're just like, holy cow. Also, it kind of hit home a little bit, because I know of a similar story. I won't get into it at all, but I know a very similar story that someone I know has gone through. And it's really affected their family, and it just sucks. So I thought about them a lot when I watched that, and I was just kind of like, holy cow, how does this happen? So, okay. I don't have a good segue into the next part. Animal stories. I don't know. Sometimes I'm not very good at segueing into the next part, so I'm just going to go with it. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was, I don't know, just because I was like, let's fill in some cool stuff here. I have always loved animals, and I especially have loved just wild animals. I grew up watching the Animal Planet and Nat Geo, and, you know, before it was all like reality TV, when it was actually documentaries. They still have that a little bit, but now I feel like I find documentaries, they're more independent documentaries, for the most part. They still have some good ones, like Disney has some really good ones, but because I feel like it all turned into reality TV, which is weird. And not to say that some of it was actually pretty good, the reality TV stuff on there. Like, we really liked, what was the gold one, Gold Rush or whatever, but it's not exactly, it's not the same. It's not the same as watching those lions and hyena go at each other's throat, and is that weird? No, I really liked the fighting. That part actually kind of made me sad, because I was a very sensitive kid. But I do really like just the learning aspect of it, and just the fact that they're animals. So I'd always do that. And I always felt like I don't know, you wouldn't know it now, but I was such a shy kid. I'm really outgoing now and pretty comfortable in social situations, even though I do have a lot of social anxiety that still stems from when I was younger, that hasn't gone away. Like, I'll be really comfortable in a social situation, and like very comfortable. I feel like I'm very social, and I hold myself well up in social situations until I get home. And then I was like, did I really say that? Oh my gosh, I'm so awkward. I can't show my face again. It'll get so bad that I'll like go hide in the closet and have a panic attack. It doesn't happen very often, but it has happened when just a lot of things add up to just not end well for me. So if I feel like I'm being especially awkward, it's usually not until I get home. And a lot of that stems from when I was younger, when I couldn't be socially. I feel like I was not very socially aware. I feel like I missed out somehow. And I don't think it's my parents' fault at all. I think it's just my personality to be, I want to say, an introverted extrovert. I wanted to be extroverted, and I wanted to be good at talking to people, and I wanted to be around people. But, okay, maybe I should just call myself for what it is. I was just an awkward human being. Still am, but at least I own it better now. But so for me, anytime, sorry, bronchitis, still working on that one. Anytime I'd go somewhere, I would connect with the little animals that were there at somebody's house over, actually connecting with them. And I really did eventually get over that, but I still absolutely love animals. So for me, animals were just always my comfort. And that's my long-winded story to get into some cool things that have happened to me. I guess I'll start in order of when they happened, or maybe in order of coolness. I'll talk about order of when they happened. So when I was younger, my parents ended up getting divorced when I was 13. And things were pretty rocky from about 10 years old to about 13 years old. And we lived in Indiana. We lived in this house that had, I think it's about 8 acres. And I loved, I've always been an outside person. I loved to go exploring outside in the woods there. And it's so funny. My little cat, Snowball, she's gone now. She lived to be about 23 years old, though, so she lived a good long life. And she was always just my little friend, my little best friend, where when things were rough, I'd go and I'd pray in a room and just cry, and my little kitty would just come up and snuggle me, and she was just the sweetest thing. And so I would go walking around, and I'd get these ramen noodles or something like that. For some reason, my cat really loved ramen noodles. And she'd follow me around, and we'd go, and seriously, not even kidding, she'd follow me in along the pathway wherever I would go in the woods, and we'd kind of go hang out together. I mean, she's a cat, so it's not like she was like running around frolicking. She just kind of like get a little ham snack or whatever. I do ramen noodles with pieces of ham. I know, weird. And then follow me a little bit more. She's probably in it for the food, but she'd follow me everywhere. And then there was also, after some neighbors moved in we had a super long driveway, but a little bit down the hill, some neighbors moved in, and they got a little dog, and they named the dog, actually not little, it was a medium to large size dog, just a mutt. I don't know what kind of dog it was, but they named him Whoopi, and they named him Whoopi because he smelled really, really bad, and he did. He smelled so bad. But it was so funny because I'd walk into the woods, and eventually he became our little buddy too. And my cat didn't even mind him. At first she did, but then she kind of just, tolerated him. And I actually think it was a girl, but in my mind it was a boy, and I always called him a him. And he'd wander around. I'd give him little ramen noodle ham snacks too. And we just kind of go do our adventures together. I had my little places, like there was the vine place where all these like cool hanging vines were, and then the area where how I don't have Lyme disease, I don't know, because I did not even care about ticks, but these bushes that I'd climb into all the time that kind of made this really cool like archway, and so I'd act like it was my hideout. And anyway, followed along by this fat white cat and scraggly black dog. And they were just kind of my buddies. But another thing that was really cool about that area was there was this herd of deer that lived there. And in this herd of deer was it was an albino deer. And it was really hard. You did not see it very often. But, we'd see deer a lot, but not the white albino deer very often. And I don't know what it was. Like, to me, I'm very religious. So to me, it was like a sign of God of peace for me when things were really bad, which I won't go into. My family does listen to these and they've been through it already. And I think we've all like been really good at healing and moving on and stuff like that. So it's kind of just like, just looking back at this experience without like getting into anything that might have happened. But when things got to be pretty bad in some of those parts, I would go outside and I just remember seeing the white deer a lot. I'd go out and just kind of have to have my time alone. And I feel like that's when the deer would show up. And obviously I'm looking this retrospect after the fact that I'm older, but you know, sometimes it doesn't matter. Like that's what resonates with you the most. So one time in particular, I just remember was rough. And I went outside in the rain and I just sat at the top of the driveway, and it was the top of the driveway. And then it was a big hill. It was lots of trees, but this big hill didn't have a lot of trees on it. It was kind of grass. And my dad would mow it with the riding lawnmower. And I just remember it being really foggy, really rainy that day. And then, so once you get down to the bottom of the hill, there's a bunch of trees. And sitting at the top of my driveway, just looking down and just thinking, you know, just being sad, very sad, feeling hopeless, and praying. And suddenly this white deer comes out that I've seen quite a few times. And at this point, it already was a sign to me of like peace for me. And it just kind of at the bottom of the hill turned and looked at me, because I was, you know, we could see each other. And that's what deer do. Like they're just like, oh, what's that up there? They're always very cautious. And then out of the kind of the woods and fog behind it, it's just very ethereal. It was so cool. Came out this baby white deer. It had a baby albino deer. And I was just like, because to me, it felt like new life in this time of hopelessness. And I was like, and you know, and not, you know, probably truly just stepped out into the, what is this, Jays? Yeah. It probably honestly just stepped out with its baby and was kind of like real no significance, maybe, you know. But to me, I was just like, oh, like this is my sign of peace. And I just felt so much better after that. And of just seeing this new life, this hope in this bit of helplessness, that I'm like, oh my goodness, usually albino deer don't really live that long because they don't blend in like their counterparts and they're usually picked off more easily. But this one has lived long enough to have another albino baby deer at the same time, like before, you know, being picked off. Like, and that's really not very common to even, it's a very recessive gene to begin with. And then they don't usually pass it on anyway because they kind of get picked off. The predators usually end up picking them off. So anyway, that was just a really cool thing that I always remember with feeling a lot of peace about. A lot of my stories are deer. But I have some of them that I won't go through all of them, but I just want to talk about the close ones. Oh no. I just dropped my whole trash can thing of trash drills on the ground. Okay, guys, when the post review for this comes out, probably not going to be showing trash drills, or at least it'll be disproportionate to how many there actually were, because I'm not picking those individually up. It's all over in the carpet. Okay, that's for future me to deal with, because I'm not going to deal with it right now. Probably just going to vacuum it up, honestly. But, okay, so, I can't believe that happened. Okay, so the next thing that I wanted to talk about was, you know, those next two, I don't remember which ones happened first. I think the owl one happened. Whatever, I'm going to say the owl one, even if it might not have happened later. So, if you've watched any other of my videos, you might know that I really, really love the redwoods. They're very special to me. Oh, see, look. See, I missed a drill. Look at this. I missed this one right here. But I don't have to go back and get it out. I am really loving this, actually. It's a little bit harder to switch colors in and out. like to put all these colors away and bring more out, it's worth it to me. It's worth it. For things, especially confetti kits like this. Anyway, so sorry, super sidetracked. Okay, let's talk about the owl one first. So redwoods, right? And actually this happened in the sequoias, but we had been visiting the redwoods and then we drove south and then drove through the sequoias. And it was just my dad and my brothers and I. And the thing is, when we go on road trips, we sort of plan it, but don't really. And we kind of fly by the seat of our pants of where do we want to go next? Where are we going to stay tonight? What route do we want to take? We sort of plan it out ahead, but we are very open to just going the scenic route if we chose. And this was so cool. This was, we were headed up in the Sequoia National Park, and I couldn't tell you which peak it was, but I believe it was like one of the highest peaks there. And it was so gorgeous. These giant trees that were just right up next to the road that you're just like, I could build a mansion in this tree. Maybe not a mansion, but like at least 1 bedroom per level, and then having like 10 levels. Anyway, so it's just beautiful. There's trees galore. There's the colors. Oh, I think it was pretty close to autumn time too, so things were starting to change a little bit, especially up further in elevation. Anyway, so we get closer to the top, and I just can't handle not seeing things through the windows, and we just weren't going to have time to stop anywhere before having to come back down the mountain, and it was already starting to lose a little bit of light. Anyway, so here we are in the car, and my dad's here. I'm here in the passenger. My two brothers are in the back, and I decided I wanted to stick my head out the window, kind of like a dog. But not a dog. But like I wasn't pretending to be a dog. I just wanted to look out the window. And quick pause, I gotta get water. Okay, that's a little better. I'm sorry, it probably sounds awkward for you guys. So I have my head sticking out the window like a dog and just enjoying every little bit of view I can get in with the cool breeze coming in. It was magical. There's no other word. It was magical. And suddenly, it happened so fast. There was a huge owl. I mean, so the car I think was like a Hyundai Sonata that we had. So not a huge car. It happened so fast. So right in front of the windshield, the car's windshield, is this giant bird. And it is an owl. And it's silent. They really do fly silently. And here it is, its wings outstretched, about to hit the car. And my dad sees it, and it's a windy road. He can't really swerve out of the way safely, but he's like, huh! You hear him make this little noise. And then the owl and my dad a little bit swerve. He swerves off to the left. The owl swerves off to the right. And not even kidding, we make eye contact. The owl and I can vividly see in my brain these two giant owl eyes just staring at me in this impressively massive wingspan. I have no idea what kind of owl it is, but it was huge. And like, it's classic. I knew it was an owl because I stared straight into its face as I almost got hit by an owl with a moving car in my face. My face almost hit an owl's face. Like, it was so crazy. And I remember just slipping my head inside really fast, but just that split second of like, the owl within inches in front of my face, and it's like turned off to the side because it's swooping off to the side to get out of the way, and I'm moving out of the way. Oh no, I'm being too loud, waking my baby up. Anyway, it just, these giant owl eyes, and I can vividly picture it. I actually really want to paint it. I just haven't yet because I feel like I won't be able to capture it. Just these, the ticked feathers around its face with the light around its face a little bit as it like fades into the dark feathers, and these two giant amber eyeballs. And then it was just gone because I ducked my head in and it swerved behind us. We all kind of turn around to look as we see it kind of fly off and swerve off to the side into the woods. And oh my gosh, it was incredible. It was so cool. You know, that's my favorite. Apparently that's my favorite word to use. I use that all the time. Incredible. Okay, I might have to pause here and get him back to sleep because I was too loud because I got really overexcited about that. All right, so I never did get my baby back to sleep that night. So this is actually the next morning. We woke up to snow. It looked like this out there. This is our back door. Gosh, we love living on the lake like this. It's just gorgeous. So anyway, then I come back in and I start working on the same kit, same spot where we left off, and I'm just going to do voiceover. So, yeah, the next animal story is, and I actually totally voiced this over already and forgot that my headphones were connected. So, yeah, this is the second time telling the story, but it's actually probably a good thing because I think I got a little long-winded and we're going to wrap it up a little better this time. Okay, so, the next story was, I believe it happened after the owl story, but it could have been before. It's just kind of fuzzy about timeline, but I believe it was like the same senior year. I believe both of these are my senior year of high school. And so it was early spring. It's still pretty, like there's still some splotches of snow outside. And my brothers and I and our dog, we had a black lab named Shadow, and we went on a hike, and my aunt was there too with her dog. Her dog's a hunting dog. So we all went on a hike together up. This is when we lived out in Logan, Utah. And so we lived pretty close to the canyon up there. And there's a trail there that you could go on with dogs without a leash. And so we were going on this trail, and I usually just let my dog kind of wander, and he'll kind of go up on either side of the trail and run around and come back. I mean, he was a spaz. He was so energetic. And I remember at one point I heard him off to the right of me making this barking sound that, I mean, you get to know your animals really well, where you're like, he sounds like he's like, my first thought when I heard him barking was like, help, we need help. Like, that sounds funny. But, so I start following him, and we all kind of follow. I'm like, hey, something's wrong with Shadow. And my aunt goes over with her dog, and her dog, so we finally find my dog, and he's licking something in the bushes and like whining and wagging his tail and looking really distressed. And the other dog goes up and starts biting at this, what we found out was a deer laying on the ground right there, and just kind of like nipping at its fur. I think it's a hunting thing. I think it's what it's trained for, so it's just doing what it's supposed to. But my aunt instantly was like, oh, okay, well, we didn't know if the deer was alive or not, but she's like, my dog's going a little crazy, I'm just going to take him down. So she ended up leaving like right then to take my dog, or her dog, back down to the house so that he could just calm down. And then, so it was just my brothers and I and my dog, and we're trying to get the dog, we didn't want to get very close, but we were trying to get our dog just to stop licking the deer. And we're like, stop, that's so gross. Until we realize that the deer is alive, and we know it's alive because it stands up and attempts to move and like falls and rolls down the hill a little bit. Not very much. It like does this kind of little flip and then lands in some snow, kind of upside down in the way that its head and its back are kind of on the down slope, and it's the rest of it is facing kind of the upslope part of it. So we're like, oh, it's alive and there's something wrong with it. Well, then at this point, at some point, I don't know, Austin, if you're listening, I don't remember when you left and took our dog, Shadow, back home because he was just freaking out. And so it was just then my other brother and I, Isaac, and we decide to, I'd actually been in a vet tech in my vet tech class my senior year, and so I kind of just assumed, I was like, hey, well, maybe I know a little bit about it, maybe I could check it out. So I kind of start to edge my way a little bit closer, and the deer stands up again, and doesn't really fall this time, but kind of does this weird little sliding thing, And then this time it's not, I don't know if I said this, but the first time it landed in a patch of snow. Well, this time it's not in a patch of snow, and it's not upside down, and it's kind of in a more comfortable spot. And so we took some time kind of trying to see if we can edge a little closer to see what's wrong with this deer. And then stupid AB. I'm trying to work with this AB and I can't get it off. No, it pulled out all my glue dot. Anyway, so I did manage to get close enough to feel its legs, because I don't know if I actually had any expertise, but I felt like I would have been able to tell if this animal had a broken leg or not. And it was so cool to be able to just it just let me touch it. It looked a little bit nervous, but then it kind of was just, resigned to the fact that I was there. And so I checked its legs as best I could, which in retrospect could be pretty dangerous because I'm pretty sure they can kick. But then, sorry, just choosing the next color. There's the one I want. There's so many ABs in this. I'm actually working on a different diamond painting. It's a Dreamer Designs, and Dreamer Designs go crazy with their ABs, and I'm not going to complain. It's a lot of fun. All right, anyway, sorry, distracted. So here we are with this deer, and as I'm checking its legs, I realize that there's some blood on it in its kind of rear end area. I mean, I'd use more technical terms, but I don't actually know what YouTube's gonna flag me for. So when I realized where the blood was coming from, I was like, oh my gosh. And then I looked at its belly, and its very, very large belly, that I was like, this deer is pregnant, and it's going to have birth. It's giving birth. It's in labor. And so I told my brother that we're talking about her, just saying, this is insane. This is wild. Literally. And so I'm just racking my brain of what can I do to help this deer? What? I don't know much about how deer giving birth. I don't know if it's having a complication or if it's just in pain from birthing pains or whatever. So it's starting to get cold, I remember, but I decided to just kind of, I don't know, I wanted to edge, and it really, in retrospect, I should have left the poor thing alone. But I wanted to just see how close it would let me get to it, really, because I was kind of leaning over it, checking its legs, and I sat down next to it cross-legged, and then just slowly scooted closer and closer, and I remember looking at its body and seeing all that, this is gross, just a heads up, seeing all these enlarged ticks all over its fur, because there are ticks everywhere, all over the thing. And another thing I should have been careful about, but I was a teenager. And just thinking, oh my gosh, this is disgusting. Who lives, how do they live like this with these ticks on them all the time? And it just laid there and breathing heavily. But I did get closer and closer until I was just cross-legged right next to its head and just kind of reaching out and stroking its nose. And then we were like that for a little while until suddenly it just kind of lifted its head up, and I was kind of tensed up because I was like, what's it gonna do? And it just looked me right in the eye, and it looked me right in the eye with one of its eyes, because it's like an animal prey, so they've got the peripheral vision, so they've got the eyes on either side, and so it doesn't look me directly, it's looking at me sideways like a horse would do, right? And I remember looking into its eye, it's brown eye, and its pupil, and I didn't really know this about deer, but its pupil is sideways like a goat's. And so I was a little bit, at first I looked at it and I was like, oh, it's kind of creepy. This is a little weird, it's a little creepy. But then feeling this feeling of awe and peace. So whoa, this deer is just staring me right in the eye, this wild animal. And it didn't look distressed anymore. It just kind of looked at me. And then, not even kidding, guys, this is the part where people are like, no, that didn't happen. I know it happened, and my brother was there. Isaac, if you watch this one, comment, because you were there, and it was so crazy. So it sighed and rested its head on my cross-legged knee. So it was on my left side. It just, and then puts its head on me. And I remember feeling very, very torn because first off, I was like, this is incredible. I cannot move. I cannot budge. I cannot change from this position, having this incredible experience. And the other part of me was looking at these enlarged ticks like along its neck and its face and being like, I'm going to get Lyme disease. I'm going to get ticks. I'm going to have to check myself when I get home. And then, as well as it was getting pretty cold. So, I think we stayed there for another like half hour, and I was just like, this is so cool. Just in complete silence and peace of just sitting there. And my brother didn't want to get close and scare the deer. He was a little further back, but not by far, by much. He was right there. And, I don't know, maybe you remember it differently, Isaac. I don't, if you remember this story, I'm sure you remember it, but I just mean like, if you remember things differently, but excuse me. I remember after a little bit, I just was like too cold. And, the guy I was dating at the time, he had a lacrosse game. And I remember looking at my phone thinking I was going to be late, and it's starting to get dark, and I was like, I'm not going to be next to this very much vulnerable prey animal there's a lot of mountain lions and coyotes and I don't know, like bears. I don't know if bears are super close to that area, but there were a few mountain lion scares. So when we lived there, I remember. So I was like, I think it's time to go. And so I just kind of petted its head and picked up its head and put it down on the ground. And I remember just patting it, saying, you got this, Mama, you got this. And then just tearing up because I was like, I mean, once in a lifetime experience. And so I got up, walked away, kind of like did a bunch of double takes looking back at it. And we headed home. And then I remember the next morning going up and looking at I went to the same exact area because I wanted to know. I was like, am I going to come across a dead deer? Am I going to come across like signs of her having given birth? And I didn't see anything. There was nothing besides like the flattened parts of the snow or like the signs of everything that happened that night or that evening. But not the deer or any signs of giving birth. My guess is she went to go give birth somewhere else. She probably just wanted a place that was a little more covered and, or went off somewhere and died. I really don't know what the complications were, but it was such a cool story. Just one of those once in a lifetime. Anyway, so, that's it for, I do have other animal stories, but I think I'm running out of time. And I did want to touch on a couple things. So maybe if you guys liked those, I can tell you a couple more. They're not quite as like incredible as this last deer story, but experience. But there's still some pretty cool fun ones. But let's talk about more of the things that I said I would touch on. But this week, I mean, it wasn't a lot. I guess 2 weeks, because I've been kind of doing these every 2 weeks now instead. And I'm actually filming this Saturday, so it's going to be more like a week and a half, and then it's still going to come out Wednesday. But, I can't get this last draw out. We ended up super sick, and I've kind of touched that on that already, and you already can hear my voice. We ended up super sick, where we all got some sort of respiratory thing. It wasn't COVID, actually, because I ended up getting tested for COVID, RSV, and the flu, because they wouldn't see me at the instant care unless I tested negative for those things. I don't really know. I didn't delve too deep into that because I tested negative, so I didn't have to worry about it. But maybe they just do like an over-the-phone consultation or take you into a special place, or I don't even know. So, I have to use tweezers for these ABs. I love ABs, but they're so hard to work with. Anyways, so all the kids, and I'm pretty sure my husband ended up with something similar to me, but didn't go in. But I did eventually go in, and yeah, the doctor was like, yep, you definitely have bronchitis. They did the x-rays and everything, and they're like, yeah, you have bronchitis and a sinus infection. I was like, yeah, I could feel that, because I was getting better from my cold, and then till I was suddenly not better. And we're gonna have our church has, they call them the missionaries, where they they go around, they teach others about Jesus, and being part of the board, we love having them over for dinner. They're just, I mean, really, they're just pretty much these barely out of high school boys that they got to be missing their families. So I think they all really appreciate having families in church, having them over and feeding them and talking to them and everything like that. And so we were supposed to have them over. I was making a big dinner, and I was not doing well. I was so dizzy. I was coughing. My voice was pretty much gone. And Greg finally said, you got to call them, because if you're contagious with anything, it's not worth it for them to get sick. And they see a lot of other people, and they're going to get other people sick. And I was like, yeah, that's true. So I called them, and I apologized that, I'm going to have to head to the doctor in the morning. And so the next day I ended up going to instant care, and that's when they told me that I was a hot mess, pretty much. So yeah, that was our week. We really did not a lot of fun things because we were just sick. So, anyway, let me know. A lot of people out here have been getting sick, and from a lot of comments that a lot of you guys have been getting sick. How are all of you guys doing? Have you gotten past what you've had? Have you picked up new things? Anyone else ended up with like bronchitis? The doctor was telling me that whatever new cold it is that was going out there right now, it was just causing a lot of respiratory issues, like and congestion issues. So like sinus infections and laryngitis and bronchitis and ear infections. They just said it was just poor drainage in general. So yeah, let me know if you guys ended up with something like that. It's a giant cold that kept going around. Who knows? It could COVID 2.0 that doesn't show up on tests or whatever. At this point, we're just so many sicknesses in general this winter anyway that we're just kind of numb to it all. But another thing was my kids. We ended up with a big fight between the kids over the Satura trash drills, and it's just so funny. But they loved getting the drills from those because they're just really nice shiny drills. So even the trash drills, they're still beautiful and shiny. But especially if it was one of the fairy dust diamonds or the ABs, if they had something, I'd be like, hey guys, here's a fairy dust trash drill with the pock marks, which they absolutely love. And they'd fight over who was gonna have what, and then Zinni would go get her stash or something and be like, hey, I'll take that one if you want this one and this one. And so she'd trade some for something that he wanted. Anyway, there was the really pretty green sea glass drill that had this giant just hole in the top, and they went crazy over it. It was seriously like it boiled down to just tears. And I was like, guys, I'm not letting you have any more trash drills if this is going to be an issue. And they have these little containers that they've been keeping them in, and every once in a while they'll go and trade them. It's so funny. But usually it ends up in an argument. So I'm like, I don't know if we can do this anymore, guys. Like, this was the reason people got Pokemon cards banned from school. Like, I could have to ban trash drills. It was so funny. I love how intense kids get about stuff. It's so cute. But it was very frustrating for me. Anyway, that's pretty much what we were up to. We've been doing some checking out houses because we're likely going to buy here at some point. Hopefully when the market's good, but at least like you get the feelers out there for the areas and stuff like that. So when something does hopefully eventually turn to work out for us, we know what we're wanting, know where we're going to want to be, what kind of house we need, kind of just in general what we want, right? So we're looking at this one house that it's out in a different area from where we are, but still pretty close to where we live. And it's not along the lake, which we're obviously hoping for, but it's probably not going to happen. I don't think we could afford it. And actually, I know we couldn't unless it was like a really rundown place or we ended up eventually building. But it was alternately, we want something that has some land on it. So this house has like 5 acres of land. It has already like a heated chicken coop, which would be so cool to have. And a whole barn area. It just was like, we're just like, oh, heck yeah. And it was an older house. And it was like a smaller, it's about the same size that we're used to in Utah. So it kind of be a downgrade in some ways size-wise, but like the outside would totally make up for that, I feel. And it'd be pretty much within our price range. So we're like, oh, we should like my husband was the one that sent it to me. And we were looking through the pictures together, wondering we should get a hold of a realtor and ask about this. Like, it feels like it's a little too good to be true. And okay, this is the picture we found. It's so crazy. Hold on. I'll insert it right here. Okay, do you guys see that like figure in the background? How weird is that? So if you zoom, let's see if I make it zoomed in or something. It's like see-through. We cannot, like, we've shown it to quite a few different people, and we're like, can you explain this? Is this a prank? Is this house haunted? Like, is that why it's such a good price? Anyway, it's just, we're just like, what the heck is going on right here? And that really was only a few days ago, so we really, really want to get a hold of somebody. Dreamer Designs, I don't like their black drills as much as I do some other places. They're a little bit dusty. But I love their drills in general, just, the black ones are a little off. But they're still very beautiful and shiny. Anyway, so, yeah, I showed it to so many people, and everyone's like, what is it? It's like a statue. I'm like, yeah, but look closely. It's see-through. And they're like, what? And they're like, what the heck? And no one can explain it. My brother, Isaac, I'm totally going to send this to you because I'm sure you're going to chime in here and there. But he's pretty sure that it was a prank and that there's like wire back there. But I don't see the wire. Who knows? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe one of you guys could explain it. Because that was weird. I mean, I don't know if I believe in ghosts. I kind of don't, kind of do. But I can't explain this one. That's weird. So anyway, guys, that's pretty much it for this WIP and Chat. That was a lot of fun. It was kind of fun to go down memory lane. Those things happened a long time ago, so it was just kind of cathartic almost in a way to talk about it. If you made it to the end of this video, I know a lot of people do this. If there's a deer emoji or any animal emoji, go ahead and pop that up on somewhere in the comments, and I will see that. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time for the next WIP and Chat. Might be next week, seeing as I'm filming this with a little bit more space between. Maybe it won't be for another 2 weeks. I don't know. I'm kind of liking this 2-week thing. I feel like less stress to make these and have more fun with them. And yeah, I have more information and fun things to talk about as well when I give it a little bit more time and space. So anyway, guys, thanks again for joining me. That was a ton of fun, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.